Good. So welcome everyone. And I'm just going to do a very, very brief background of what the Bounce Back Project is. The Bounce Back Project started in, I think it was 2018, Buffalo Hospital in Buffalo, Minnesota. Within a very short time period, they lost two beloved doctors. The first one was killed in a motorcycle crash, and the second one died by suicide and in the chapel at the hospital. And following the loss of both of their beloved physicians, they decided that they had to do something, that stress and was too much, and that they really wanted to make a difference in the lives of hospital staff. So they worked with the Minnesota Medical Association, and they came up with the Bounce Back Project. And the goal of the Bounce Back is to help people be resilient and stay encouraged during difficult times. What we do with Bounce Back through the Minnesota Oral Health Coalition is we're taking this all the way through May, and every month is one of the tools or one of the areas of resiliency. So there's purpose, gratitude, mindfulness, and self-care, but we're actually breaking those out because mindfulness and self-care are two really important topic areas. Social connections, which is what we're doing today, random acts of kindness, and then something they call 3 good things, which are doing 3 good things and how that diverts our mind from negativity. So it's Leah Kinney, who is a dental hygienist and was a board member and now works for the Minnesota Oral Health Coalition. Connie Bai actually told us about this Train the Trainer. So we went to the Train the Trainer so we could bring Bounce Back to oral health. The Bounce Back Project now is in schools. It's in nonprofit organizations, government organizations. It's free. There's a great website. If you know anyone that wants to get involved, they can actually do it without going to a training, or they can always contact me if they want to know more about it. Let's see. Where's my, oh, there we go. So here, yeah. So our purpose is to expand resiliency so we can bounce back. And what is social connectedness or social connection? It's the experience of belonging to a social relationship or network, or a social networking community such as network. And one of the things about the Bounce Back Project that we really like and why we value it so much is in addition to how it originated, it's also, everything's based on science. So this isn't, oh, it's going to feel good if you do this, which it probably will. There's always research behind everything we do with Bounce Back. So when we have these statistics, they really do come from research. So we know that loneliness is bad for our health. And it's so ironic that we are in a pandemic and we're talking about connectedness and loneliness. But it does make it's harder for people to recover from illnesses. It damages us physically and obviously mentally. And humans are wired for social connection. And when we talk about wired, we're talking about our brains. And again, this is research, this social relationships, how they help us to live longer. We recover from illness quicker. We the effects of illnesses hit us, are lessened if we have these connections. Unfortunately, loneliness is kind of a taboo. If we joined a Zoom later today and people said, "Hey, how you doing, Nancy?" And I said, "Oh God, I'm so lonely." That might be really difficult. People were not really used to talking about it. And so social media can make it worse because people rely on social media for connection. And what we find is that the the real true soul to soul connection isn't there. I have a friend who lives alone, and she actually works in advertising, and she refuses to get on social media. And I said, you really need it for your work. And she said, when I go on Facebook, all I see are people having fun and people doing great things. And I just feel horrible about myself. And I said, you know that people only post that stuff. They don't post when they're lonely. They don't. And she said, and I said, but I understand. Um, and there's this thing, and there's the last thing we'll do today is to look at a social connection worksheet that talks about your 4 a.m. friends. Um, so social connection, there is an actual healing power. Some of these I've talked about, but increase in self-esteem, um, extended life. This one I love. I'll let you read it. I love Shel Silverstein. And if you're not familiar with his work, any of his books you'll love. He was a writer for Playboy. That was his main job. So if you say, Nancy told me to read Playboy, that's not, I'm not talking about those, but I'm talking about he has children's books. They're so-called children's books, but they're phenomenal. He has poetry and these beautiful drawings. But what he's saying here, the way I read this is, um, if we really want to connect with people, we have to show them who we are. We can't hide ourselves. And Brene Brown, she's a personal hero of mine. So here's just some ideas. I think we all know these. I was watching some TED Talks to get ready for today and kind of figure out where I wanted to go with this. And, these kind of things are frustrating for me. When I was a freshman in college, I went to the counseling service because I was so stressed out. I just couldn't function. And the counselor told me to take a bath, a bubble bath. And I got really mad. I said, if a bubble bath would help me, I wouldn't be here. But I do appreciate these kind of ideas. But really, when you look at things like exercise, volunteer, take a class, be out in nature, there is real reasons why they do help us. They help us emotionally and physically and spiritually. So these are actually really good ones. But that take a bath thing, that didn't work for me. And here's some things that we can do. I have teenage daughters. Well, now they're 18 and 20. But when we used to go through the drive-through of any place, I would thank them so much. I'd say, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate this. And my daughters at first said, why would you do that? Why do you talk to them like that? Or when I see someone and I really love something they're wearing, I'll say, and then I talked to my daughters about it, and I said, well, first of all, I appreciate anyone who, if I can drive up to a window and they hand me dinner, I'm so grateful. But I said, we're really lucky because we have each other, but there are people that never get a compliment. I had a priest, and he said, shaking hands at church on Sunday is so important because sometimes that's the only touch that people have all week. So it's really fun, though, now to watch my daughters do the same thing, and watching them compliment people. And we were at Mall of America, I think over the winter holiday, and at the Lululemon store, there was a young man, and he was making sure that we were 6 feet apart and that he was keeping count of who came in the store. And, because they had numbers that they had quotas for how many people could be in there. And he was more on the feminine side of the spectrum, and he had really bright nail polish on. I can't remember. And one of my daughters looked at him and she said, "I love your polish. Where'd you get it?" And I was so proud. And I thought, well, you know, they're continuing this. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, thanks." And they had this great talk. And again, that's, you know, she didn't cure cancer, but made her feel good, made him feel good. And they did have a connection. And I'll just keep talking, but if there's anything you guys want to share, please do. This is a TED Talk. It's 10 minutes. I really, really love it. And this woman's name is Molly Carroll. I don't know a lot about her, but I'm going to play it. And
I got caught in a lie. It was one heck of a day. It started with news about my mom's cancer. And then I forgot I needed to meet my husband at a storage unit where we were keeping some furniture. So I rushed over there. And as I got there, I got hit like a ton of bricks with my grief. And I began sobbing. And I don't like to cry. And I definitely don't like anyone to see me cry. And here I am falling apart. I look up and I see my husband walking towards the car, and my body instantly gets tense, panicked, and annoyed. He opens the car door and I look at him and I say, "Go, just go. Give me 2 minutes." Confused, he obliged and walked away. A few minutes passed and he tapped on the car window and asked if he could get in the car. We drove home in complete silence. I had created such a wall of isolation between the two of us because I could not connect to my husband of 18 years around my grief and sorrow. I had just isolated the one person on this planet that loves me the most, and I should have the deepest connection to. As if kicking my husband out of the car was not bad enough, I then lied to my 11-year-old daughter. I went to go pick her up at an after-school activity, and the moment she got in the car, she looked at me and said, "Mom, what's wrong?" I said, "Nothing, honey, I am fine." Right? She said, "No, you're not, you're lying. You've been crying. Just tell me." I said, "Really, Cora, I'm just tired." Later that evening, I painfully thought to myself, why am I strong-arming my husband and lying to my daughter? What is wrong with me? The irony is, I'm a licensed therapist. I love myself. I lead retreats for women all over the world. I'm a life coach. I've helped hundreds of people with connection. And here I am, struggling with connection. This incident made me realize that connection is a complex issue, and it is not easy. And for someone who thought she had it all figured out, I had so much more to learn. So I became passionate about this exploration because I also know there is so much at stake around human connection. Since 1999, the suicide rate is up 33%. Teen suicide is up 70%. 70. Loneliness is a greater detriment to our health than smoking, obesity, and high blood pressure. Depression is one of the leading causes of disability worldwide. In 1985, 1 in 10 people said they had no one intimate to talk to. And now it is 1 in 4. And science and the data is telling us that human connection can help solve a lot of these issues. Our brains are wired to reach out and interact. The reward centers light up when we have connection. So when you can interact intimately and honestly with your friends and your family and your community, you strengthen your immune system, you recover from disease faster, and you actually live longer. And human connection absolutely lowers our rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide ideation. We all need to strengthen our connection muscle. But how do we do this? Well, for me, it came down to the basics of being a human being. It revolves around three things: giving space to all of our feelings, telling the truth, and realizing we are not alone. When I isolated my husband and lied to my daughter, I knew I needed to figure out why I was so afraid of connection. I knew I needed to make a conscious effort to slow down my fast-paced life of work and kids and obligations. I had to get out of my head and into my heart to figure out what I was feeling that day in the car. So I began giving space to my feelings by walking in the woods with my dog. And it was there that I realized when I am anxious, I need to stop and breathe and get grounded and connect to the body, because I need to connect to myself first before I can connect to anybody else. Or if I'm feeling insecure or unworthy, I need to remember at the core of who I am is enough. And I want all of you to remember at the core of who you are, no matter when, is enough. By giving my feelings space, I realized a very valuable lesson about human connection, and it is this: when we can love and connect all of our emotions, our successes and our failures, our joys and our sufferings, we can love and connect others. After I started giving space to my feelings, I knew I needed to start telling the truth. And I started with my daughter. I called her down and I said, "You caught me in a lie. You were right. That day in the car, I was sad and I had been crying." She all of a sudden starts looking at me and starts pumping her fist. "Yes, I knew I was right." She was so proud of herself. "I knew I caught you crying. I knew you were sad." Her reaction made us both start laughing so hard that we connected to each other on such a deeper level than me hiding my truth from my daughter. Can you imagine how the reward centers in our brains were lighting up in that moment? My 11-year-old daughter's authenticity taught me so much about the power of human connection. Lastly, we need to remember that we are wired to connect. It is in our DNA. Human connection is here to give love and comfort where there is pain and isolation. We are not alone. We are all interconnected. And after my storage unit meltdown and my renewed passion to strengthen my connection muscle, I knew I needed to start practicing what I've been preaching for years. So I began having a two-way dialogue with people at coffee shops and grocery stores at my kids' events around one question, and it is this: when do you feel connected? One of my 11-year-old daughter's friends said to me on the way to school, "You know when I feel connected? It's when I'm with someone and we don't even have to speak, because we're so deeply connected in the heart." Her comment was so raw and real. The moment I looked at her, we were instantly connected. Another brave soul said to me, "I know when I'm not connecting, and that is when I am gossiping." And she said, "I gossip when I'm dying for connection, but I'm feeling too insecure. So I end up talking about someone else because I can't talk about myself." Guilty as charged. I know I gossip too. When I'm dying for anything, to feel alive, to be seen or heard or validated for who I am. I'm sure we've all gossiped for connection. So let's just imagine the positive ripple effect if we all strengthened our connection muscle. If we left here today and made a promise to ourselves to give space to all of our feelings, not just the comfortable ones, the uncomfortable ones too. And we started telling our truth and not saying, I'm fine or I'm great. And we really realized that we are not alone. Even in your darkest moments, when you feel like you may be a burden or no one wants to be with you, you are not alone. The takeaway for me has been the transformation when I actually have the courage to have a heart-to-heart connection. And knowing what I know now, I can role play the scene at the storage unit that feels so much better. I'm sitting in my car and I get hit with my grief. And I look up and I see my husband walking towards me. And I'm still scared even to this day, right? But I'm a lot calmer. And he opens the car door and I say to him, please come in. I need you. Thank you very much.
Wow. I hope you guys like that.
She almost sounded like a Scandinavian. I'm fine.
Well, I know when she said fine, I thought, isn't that like the worst word where people, I'm fine.
Fine.
I'm fine. So, Mohammed, I forgot to tell you that we record these and then we put them on our YouTube channel so that people can watch them, because this might not be a good time for someone. I'm just going to show one more thing because I really like it, and then I'll turn off the where is it? And then I'll turn off the recording. Shoot. Let me see. Let's see where it is. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a worksheet. So if we were in person, and I could have actually sent this out early, but this is one of the worksheets that that the Bounce Back Project has made available. Anyway, I'm not getting, it's not letting me change my view. Oh, there, we'll try this. So this is one of the worksheets, and the Bounce Back Project, their website just has a lot of different things. So this is one of those handouts. And earlier they talked about my 5 a.m. friends. And I tell the story of when I turned 50, I had a birthday party. And I didn't know who to invite, and I didn't know how that should work out. So I was thinking about it, and then I heard either on the radio or TV the story about Demi Lovato. If you guys know who she is, I know Connie's heard this story before, but Demi Lovato's a singer, and she's very, very famous. And she has a chemical dependency problem. And she was telling the story of how at this point, years ago, it was very recent for her, she almost OD'd, almost overdosed. The ambulance came for her and she was immediately sent to treatment. And she was gone for 2 or 3 months. And she said that when she got out of treatment, they gave her her phone back. And she thought, oh, my phone's going to be broken because of all these messages and all these calls and texts. And she had 2 or 3 people reach out to her. And this is like an international superstar. So I heard this story and I thought, for my 50th birthday party, I'm going to invite people. I said 2 a.m. I'm going to only invite people who, if I called them at 2 a.m., they would show up. And it was the perfect party because those were my 2. And I told them, I said, that's why you're here. Because it was kind of an odd little group. But we had a blast, and they were my 2 a.m. group. I knew, and I was thinking about them the other day because one of them actually just got a job at the U of M dental school. And I was thinking about her. She texted me yesterday and I went, oh my gosh, she's one of my 2 a.m. friends. So I'll stop sharing, but I want to. And then I think I'll stop recording. And then if we want to talk about anything,